Hello, my creeplings. We're back again, and I've got a doozy of one today. We're going to be talking about a Wes Craven film that's kind of not talked about enough. It's still a wild ride. We're talking Shocker. This was released in 1989. This movie is a wild ride. It at times feels a bit mismatched when it comes to its genre. It is definitely a horror movie, but is it a slasher movie? Is it a supernatural movie? Is it a horror comedy? It's kind of all of these things. I love this movie. Not just because of some of the people in it, and I know y'all will call me out in comments later. So let's just get into it. This one was released in October of 1989. Little side note, there was a Headbangers Ball devoted to this that year. You can find bits and pieces of it on YouTube here. Hosted by Alice Cooper. I highly recommend it. Just for, if you're like me, a member of the MTV generation, you're gonna watch this. This is just gonna be a walk down memory lane. So this movie actually has a lot of people that went on to become names, but at the time weren't quite so huge. Just going down the list, we have Michael Murphy as Lieutenant Don Parker. He's done a lot of character work. He usually plays a cop. You see him and you go, oh, I know that guy. Peter Berg plays our lead, Jonathan Parker. Yeah, sorry, notes again, so you'll see me referring. He's not so much known as an actor anymore, but he is a writer and director. He's responsible for, I think, Friday Night Lights is one of the biggest ones I saw on his recent resume. Check out his stuff. He's actually very talented. If you like the genres he plays in. I'm not huge on sports movies, and I haven't watched everything that I saw, highlighted in his IMDb. But the guy's pretty well in demand right now. Mitch Pileggi plays our villain, Horace Pinker. Now, Mitch Pileggi's got a very interesting history within the genre. He did this. He was Skinner in X-Files. Those of you Supernatural fans remember him as Grandpa Campbell. The people who were very interested in illusions and stuff in the early 2000s, there was a series on, I think, maybe Fox or CW or whatever the CW was before that, UPN, I think, where it was Magic's Greatest Secrets Revealed. He was the narrator for this. So he's done a lot of stuff. And he just eats this role up. He just goes, he's not just going ham, he's going full on pig with this. In a good, campy, fun, you want to watch it again and again type way. We also have Richard Brooks as Rhino, one of the football players. I know him mostly from LA Law. Only because my mom, was it my mom or one of my friend's moms? Some adult in my life watched a lot of LA Law. And he's also known for Firefly, the series, playing the bounty hunter Jubal Early. I was looking at him going, I recognize that guy. And then it hit me. It was Jubal Early. Timothy Leary, the LSD guy, does a cameo as a television evangelist. John Tesh, from Entertainment Tonight at the time, is a TV reporter. We have a very, very tiny blink and you'll miss it cameo from Heather Langenkamp from Nancy from the original Nightmare on Elm Street. She came back to play, basically lay on a Gertie and be a body in the beginning during the thing. And of course, this is what everybody's got to pick on me for, but I can't help it. Ted Raimi's in it again as a character named Pac-Man. I will try to keep my gushing to a minimum. I promise. If y'all haven't figured it out, or you don't want to call me out on it, but you can call me out on it. I am a Raimi fangirl. Eventually, we will address this either in comments or in a video. And I fully expect to be read for filth for this one. For that. But let's get back to the movie, shall we? So, Wes Craven's Shocker. is a serial killer movie with some supernatural elements and a lot of campy comedy thrown in. We start out with, okay, now I'm going to apologize. I'm going to butcher this, and this is not intentional. This movie takes place in a town called Maryville. And one of the cars I noticed had an Ohio license plate, which automatically makes me think it takes place here in my home state of Ohio. We have a town near me called Marysville. So I may say Marysville by accident, just because I've grown up saying Marysville. I'm not 100% sure that this is actually supposed to take place in Ohio, but considering the car license plate was an Ohio plate, and Springfield from Nightmare on Elm Street is supposed to be Ohio as well. I think Wes Craven has a thing for setting his movies in the Midwest, and let's face it, everyone knows Ohio's pretty boring. Knows Ohio is pretty boring, so let's put all the weird shit in Ohio. I get where you're coming from. So if I butcher the name, I apologize. So we open with Maryville has been terrorized by a serial killer for the past 9 months, breaking into homes and killing families. Okay, so we are introduced to Jonathan Parker, our protagonist, our hero. He is a college football player dating a girl named Allison Clemens. She's played by an actress named Camille Cooper. She hasn't done a whole lot, but I have seen her in a few things. She's really cute. She's a really adorable little actress. She was perfectly cast. And we go through and watch practice where he's goofing off and ends up getting his head whacked and leaves early so that he can recover from possibly having a concussion. On the way home, Jonathan is on his residential street where he grew up, because apparently he's from Maryville, and he sees his family getting murdered. Turns out it's a dream, but it's a psychic dream. So here's where we get the spiritual, supernatural levels of stuff. He knows who the murderer is. He convinces his foster father. Need to make that clear. His foster father, who's Lieutenant Don Parker, that I saw the guy, I saw his van, and he knows things about the murders that were not released to the public that Don didn't even tell Jonathan. So they go to Horace Pinker's TV repair shop to check it out. Cops get killed. Pinker gets away. Now, one thing you need to know, Pinker has a very pronounced limp. Like, his knee must be completely locked up. This comes in play later. Long and the short of it is, they capture him eventually because of Jonathan's psychic dreams. But not after Pinker kills Allison. And kills, I think he gets another family. He's convicted. They kill him in the electric chair. But what they, meaning everyone else, doesn't know is that Pinker's a devil worshiper. And he has sold his soul to the devil, made a deal with the devil to live on after death. And he does so in the form of electricity, hence shocker. At first, he's jumping from human body to human body, trying to go after Jonathan and keep killing people. Now, just before Pinker was fried, he had a confession. We don't know how real this actually is, because it was all over the news that Jonathan was a foster kid. But Pinker claims that Jonathan's his son, and he's the reason he's got the limp. Jonathan shot Pinker in the leg to save his mom, because Pinker's an asshole and was beating his wife and his kids. Okay, so we got that out of the way. So Pinker's jumping from, let's see, he jumps to the doctor, he jumps from a doctor to a cop, jumps from a cop to a jogger, jumps from a jogger to a little girl. That's kind of funny because the little girl gets Pinker's foul mouth. And then from the little girl to the little girl's mom, from the little girl's mom to a construction worker. We'll talk about the construction worker here in a minute when we talk about the soundtrack. So he's jumping everywhere. Jonathan's starting to figure this out. And at the same time, he's having dreams of Allison saying, you've got to stop him. He's jumping. Lieutenant Dad, I think this is what I'm going to call him, Lieutenant Dad, he believes Pinker's dead and he doesn't believe what Jonathan's saying. But the football team, hardcore friends here, start to buy it, even the coach. Especially after when Pinker possesses the cop, he shoots Jonathan in public, nicks him, and they're trying to stitch him up, and he's explaining what's going on. Apparently, just before Pinker killed her, Jonathan had given Allison a necklace for her birthday, and this is like some kind of now mystic symbol that can force Pinker out of bodies. It's a lot to take in, but it's a great ride when you're watching it. Let's see. So Jonathan doesn't want to go back to the house because of, all that stuff. So Coach and Pac-Man is played by Ted Raimi. He's the assistant coach, and he's just a lovable little nerd. Again, I'm going to try not to gush here. They go collect a diving mask from the house because somehow Pinker gets a hold of Allison's necklace and throws it into a lake in the park. And they have to go get it. Well, when they're an hour and 15 minutes late, which is definitely not like Coach, Jonathan goes back to the house to figure out what's going on, and here we find Coach possessed and Pac-Man dead. Oh, dead Ted. That's always hard for me to watch. Guy who plays the coach gives a really good performance here, though. There's a little bit of fighting for control between Coach and Pinker, and eventually Coach sacrifices himself. Pinker at this point also now figures out he can ride the electric currents and through TV. This is where we get our wild goose chase. Jonathan and the rest of the football team concoct a plan to stop Pinker. Now, between Pac-Man and Coach getting killed and that happening, though, we do have Pinker taking over Lieutenant Dad for a minute. But that was quickly resolved. Lieutenant Dad lives. And there's so much going on. The plan is to trap Pinker in the television waves by causing a citywide blackout. I don't understand it myself. It's a bit of a stretch for my mind, but it was fun to watch because Jonathan and Pinker go through. Okay, now you remember Waxwork 2 when I was talking about the fight through time? Well, this is the chase and the fight through TV. War movies, The Local Televangelist, Frankenstein the movie. They end up in all of it, going through it, and they end up in a bedroom that was, I think, yeah, it's in the house where he grew up in. He had a news crew come in and set up a live feed. The football team is out at the electrical station in Maryville. Told you I was going to do it. And they're going to wreck the station to cause a citywide blackout. It works. Pinker's trapped in the TV. Credits roll. This is not an effectively, excruciatingly gory movie. According to my notes here, the film was severely cut for an R rating. They had to submit this thing to the MPAA 13 times to get it down from an X to an R. The uncut version has not been released to the public. I don't know if the cuts were ever made, or the cuts that were made were ever saved so that they could be edited back in. It'd be cool if they did, though. This movie is a wild fucking riot. This is like peak Wes Craven for me. That's not anything based around Freddy Krueger. This is it's a hoot. I love it. I mean, there's very little actual gore. There's a lot of blood, but it's not like you don't see a lot of actual killings. But the story is so wild. It's great. And the soundtrack is Oh, now I am a hard rock heavy metal girl. I have always been a hard rock heavy metal girl. I listen to a lot of things, but like that's always my first love genre. The soundtrack, not the score, but the soundtrack of this has got some big names involved with it. There was a super group or a mega band or whatever you want to call it created for this by high profile producer Desmond Child. At least he was high profile in the rock world at the time, called the Dudes of Wrath. Okay, number one, kudos to you on the name, because I love it. And two, listen to this lineup. So, Paul Stanley of Kiss and Desmond Child shared lead singing vocals. Rudy Sarzo from Whitesnake was on bass, and Motley Crue's Tommy Lee was on drums. Vivian Campbell and Guy Mandude were on guitars. There are covers on here. Well, there is a cover on here by Megadeth of Alice Cooper's No More Mr. Nice Guy. We've got Iggy Pop's got a song. Voodoo X has a song. Speaking of Alice Cooper, I said we go back to the construction worker. He was played by, I always get this guy's name wrong. Where is it? Kane Roberts. He was a guitarist in Alice Cooper's band at the time. Now, and also the score itself isn't too bad. It's got a like rock and roll score sound to it. I'm just gonna say it. If you're a Wes Craven fan and you haven't seen this movie, what is wrong with you? This is peak fun from Wes Craven. This is where you see he gets his kind of sense of humor from. If you just like cheesy 80s horror movies, watch this film. I cannot say this enough. I will, like, anytime this movie comes on TV, which unfortunately it doesn't come on all that often, or like if my friends are like, well, I haven't seen this one, I'm like, dude, we are watching it. I love this movie. This one is going back into my rotation again. I had not seen this before last year. I watched it around, I think, my birthday in August. Because I was, wondering what I should watch when I started the channel. And I'm like, oh, we'll watch this one. Because I think I got it in a multi-pack with People Under the Stairs, Serpent and the Rainbow, and this one. And I'm like, oh, I love People Under the Stairs. So I sat and I watched all these, and I'm like, that was the best out of the three. So yes, I will revisit Shocker. Mitch Pileggi. Okay, I have said this about other actors before. Mitch Pileggi is just chewing this role up and spitting it out and making it his own. This is his, like, he's into this at the same level that Mark Hamill when he voiced the Joker was. At least to me. I get that same kind of, I'm living this fun intensity and really am gonna, like, live for this and, like, chew this up. Mitch Pileggi's, like, every time I find something new of his, I'm like, you're so freaking awesome! I loved him as Grandpa Campbell in Supernatural, and then this just cherry on top, man. But again, that soundtrack is just great. A lot of the songs written by Dudes of Wrath were written by Paul Stanley and Bruce Kulick. I know if you're not a Kiss fan, you don't care, but I still think Kiss is they have a very solid songwriting base. And I think anything that they work hard on definitely shows. And this seemed like it was something they definitely really enjoyed doing. Yeah, go out and watch this one. This is a Mel Recommends. This is I cannot get enough of this. And no, it's not just because somebody showed up in a small role that I happen to gush over quite a bit. I will say that's one of my reasons for watching it. Can't get enough of that Ted, man. I know there's gonna eventually end up being somebody's gonna make a compilation of me simping over Ted. I'm here for it. I can't help it. I'm a character actor girl, and he's one of my favorites. But Mitch Pileggi is awesome. Again, the dude who played Rhino, something Brooks. It's a Wes Craven film. I can't. I cannot say enough good about this. If you like silly horror movies, if you like any of those actors that I mentioned, if you're a Wes Craven fan, go out and watch this if you have not yet. If you like a good hard rock soundtrack, get the soundtrack if you can find it. Look for the stuff on YouTube. I know No More Mr. Nice Guy, the Megadeth cover, is on there. I want to say the Ballad of Horace Pinker by the Dudes of Wrath is on there. There's a lot of good songs on here. So, on that note, I'm going to go probably watch another movie or get a meal. I haven't decided yet. It's getting kind of late. But I'm going to say a good night, my creeplings. And I'll see you next time. Bye.